All right, welcome to another episode of The Block. We got two rounds of the NFL draft in hand. If you had a chance to go to and check out our previous podcast, One Mic, you had a chance to hear Darnell talk a little bit about his big board. So this morning, we're going to quickly go through after these first couple of rounds. We're in round three um, to kind of get a sense of where we are in the draft compared to this big board, some of the trends that we're seeing in the draft. It's been an interesting draft altogether. Darnell, we're just going to start a little bit with just the conversation. And you and I, we went back in the text a little bit. The draft is, people get so consumed by where quarterbacks go that sometimes people can just miss good stuff. And I know you are like a student of the game, and I know it's always great to have a quarterback. We know how important a quarterback is to a team's development. But this draft has a lot of great players. And one of the things I said in our chat was I think people are feeling uncomfortable because we're seeing quarterbacks being evaluated finally like other position players. It doesn't mean that some of these quarterbacks might not have any value. Maybe they're not off the charts like we're used to seeing, but people are critically looking at what they can do and to understand where they fit in the team. But there's a lot of value that came off the board. How have you been trending that conversation when you've been thinking about it? I know my Steelers took Pickett. I think he's got some competitiveness. One thing I noticed about a couple of these quarterbacks is that I love the term they're using. They have competitive character. There's a couple of them that got that competitive character, that they got that fight in them, and I think they're gonna surprise folks because I think they're gonna perform above expectations. But how have you? What's your feeling on that? Are we just missing some good stuff because we're so focused on the quarterback?
Well, yeah, because if there's we all know quarterback is the most important
Yeah,
position on the field, but so if it's a down quarterback year, then it's automatically a down draft. That's what
yeah,
reception is going to be. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of really good players in this draft, and a lot of teams, especially teams that were already contending. Well, it was interesting to see how they were able to retool and rebuild, and in that sort of arms race that's at the top of these divisions. But yeah, as far as quarterbacks go, like you said, these guys are being evaluated like the other positions, but I think they always kind of been, well, not really, because they always put a premium on the positions. But we still have seen that,
yeah.
because it's always really gone quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive end, or pass rusher, and that's really how the hierarchy goes. But since the quarterbacks haven't really been up to the standard, then it just goes down the flow chart. And I think we've seen that. But the other thing about the quarterbacks is, are you going to take a quarterback now that in this year that might be quarterback 4, quarterback 5 next year? You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Because guys are looking back and it's like, okay, last year we had Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, so on and so forth. And then next year we're going to get Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, that group of guys. Would I be better off waiting until next year, or should I get a guy like Matt Corral? Which I like Matt Corral,
I like
but
him.
he might. But would I go for Matt Corral when I could possibly go for Bryce Young next year?
Hmm.
And that's the kind of conversation I believe is going on in these rooms.
And
And
then
it's something you got to look at.
And on top of it, you had some unusual movement. You had, people like Russell Wilson, who would normally been
Right.
stabilized, move. You had quarterback movement. Deshaun Jackson coming back in, or Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson coming back into the quarterback fold, right? And which caused move. So I think you also had some incredible movement with quarterbacks. Um, Trubisky, who people didn't know if it was just Chicago regime that didn't know how to use him and not really judge him, and people seeing time in Buffalo that maybe his better than that. It was more, so you had those kind of elements. You got Mariota going to Atlanta and resurfacing in a way, former, high draft pick, number one, whatever. You got that kind of person coming back in the mix as well. So to me, you got some unusual movement happening in the offseason in that position as well that falls into the calculus. But the lineman ate, literally ate. D lineman, O lineman. I'm a big guy, former D lineman. Former. I put my hand on the ground. There are times I played linebacker, but I love when I see the big guys get paid. Because they got to eat a lot and they got to pay everybody around them. The big guys got paid as well. That was a good trend to watch. Who did when you sat there? You said, "Wow, let's stay away from user teams." I know we're gonna talk about the Ravens because I know it's there, but there's some teams that kind of stepped up that may have had the Lions. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
watching Lions and I listened to Bart Scott. Mark's from Detroit. And Bart would tell you he roots for all the teams he played for plus his home city. Bart was rooting for Detroit like he played for Detroit. And that's something about being in Michigan. I left the Lions a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, and I had to tell my partner, I was like, I might have to go back and root for the Lions. They have to draft it like they know what they're doing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's teams like the Lions. Who are some of those teams that historically haven't got a credit for having a strong front office surprised you?
Well, it's the second year in a row. The New York Jets. The New York
Yeah,
Jets. I feel like they building something for real.
yeah.
And then I know we're talking about the Lions. They moved back in. They made the move to
I
jump
know you
up.
did a mock draft. You did your own little
Yeah,
mock draft of the Lions,
yeah,
right?
the Lions. They jumped up, but the team that they traded with, they impressed me too. The Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up their draft. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go. They moved back and were still able to get guys that at every position that they needed and good players as well. Like they moved. I think they moved back twice actually. They
Mm-hmm.
moved back twice. They got Lewis Seen at the back end of the first round. They got Andrew Booth at corner.
Yep.
So now their secondary is set. You know what I'm saying? And offensive line that was a position of need. They got Ed Ingram there. They got Brian Asamoah, the linebacker from Oklahoma, and he's gonna be able to do some things. I'm gonna silence this thing.
See, that's the league calling you. That's the league calling you. Put too much out there on people.
Yeah,
See,
Brian Asamoah, another athletic linebacker out of Oklahoma, put him next to Kendricks. I mean, yeah, I feel like they had a pretty good draft. Like, there's a lot of teams in here that made some pretty good moves.
I mean, the Lions went with Aiden Hutchinson, which I think and
Hmm.
he's going to the team. He's basically got to pack his bags up. He might even have to get a U-Haul, just load up some stuff and just drive down 94, and hang out. He might even have to. He can
He
probably just
really don't have to move. He could he
buy a
could
house.
he could stay in Ann Arbor and drive down there if they want to.
That's right. He probably just walk. He probably just said, I'm gonna drive over to one of them neighborhoods, Barton Hills, one of those places. You know,
He
uh,
from he played at Divine Child. He's from Dearborn. I mean,
yeah. So
he can
maybe
stay in
go
the
back.
crib.
Yeah, maybe just get a house right next to his daddy. You know,
Yeah.
so he's right there. I think the Jameson Williams um, uh, pick is a great pick in the sense that you get somebody who can make a move. He adds some value. You're saying, hey, we want to see. He going you're gonna have to wait for him to come in a little bit later in the
Mhm.
season. But he's
But the thing about James, yeah,
go ahead,
so you can go. But the
go
thing
ahead.
about Jameson Williams is, with me, I like diversity in my wide receiver room. They got big receivers, and then adding a guy like Jameson Williams that can really take the top off.
Yep.
Um, I think that's a really good move, especially the way they're building that offense to be like a running, downhill running team, and then add that element of play action. He's gonna keep you honest. I mean, um, if you try to put too many guys in the box, he's gonna be 88 and out the gate, as they used to say.
So and then they went defense, which was good. So they're really trying to say, hey, and I always felt like I don't know how I'm like this. There's something about Chicago and Detroit. You got to have a defense. It's something about the city. It's something about the cities. and you're loading up. And I think they're setting themselves up to be on that top half of the defensive side. It fits it reflects the personality of the coach, in terms of that toughness. We're gonna have some tough players on both sides of the ball, right? And so I feel like they really got some good picks. I'm gonna let you flow. Like what are some other things that you just like that you would like to just share some observations from the draft? So far with these first 3 rounds.
Man, Philly.
Yeah, they went
I gotta
real.
talk about I gotta talk about Philly because they made the move. They got AJ Brown. They're really leaving Jalen Hurts no excuse. I
Yeah,
don't want to put it that way, but yeah, they're really putting some weapons around him.
but what you're saying
Allowed
is
him to,
the thing though. Like we're gonna really see if you can do this, right?
yeah, really,
And that's what I'm talking about. Be fair, especially to these brothers. We gonna find out if you can do it or not, right? You got
yeah,
a big a big catch radius, right? He can catch whatever you throw to him. I'm giving you somebody who's like a security blanket. He gonna go
yep,
get it, right? Okay.
yep. And then on the defensive end, they got Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean. Oh man,
Let's talk
like
about the team. They
talk
can't.
about Dean. Okay, what
They
I heard about Dean.
issue about his injury. He dropped like quick, and I think people are gonna regret that. I don't understand it. Talk to me.
Well, with Dean, what I heard was he um he got injured. He had some injuries, and then he didn't get surgery. He got injury. He had injuries, and then he was gonna rehab through it. Like he tore his pec. I heard he tore his pec. He had a shoulder injury, had an ankle injury. I think he had a meniscus as well. They said, and he was just gonna just rest up and rehab through them. And I think he probably got some bad advice. But he might be a guy you're looking at. Um, he might not be playing for the first either few weeks of the season, or he might not be playing at all his first year. But then when he does come back, you're gonna have something though.
Yeah, I'm gonna work through that. I'm gonna work through that. That's a still. I mean, this feels very Philadelphia. Feel like we going back to them old Philly teams with that kind of lineup. When you got Jordan Davis and you got him, that feel
Jordan
like
Davis and Fletcher Cox.
and Fletcher. That feels very old. That feel like the Philadelphia when I went to watch it when Harbaugh was a special teams coach. Like they was getting after people. They had when
Did
they had.
Brandon Graham retire?
Huh?
Did Brandon Graham retire?
I don't know, but he
Is
might
he
he might
still?
untire when you see that big fella coming into the room. He's like, you might add a couple of years onto my life. If I'm Brandon, I'm coming back with that. So
Wait,
Philly was got you right. What's another team that people should be excited about their
yeah,
fans?
Brandon Graham's still on the team. Yeah, they gonna have a physical front
Yep.
seven. I mean, yeah. He's looking for other teams as well. New York was interesting.
You said
I know Wandell Robinson is Carl's guy, but
mm,
yeah, he went in the second round. I said he was Kadarius Tony insurance because in case he doesn't act right. But they got
for the Giants. Yep, that's right.
they got Kayvon Thibodeau. They got Evan Neal. That's the benefit of having those two early picks. You could just really, yeah, you gonna come up with some talent as long as you don't mess it up. But I think yeah, they definitely hit it out the park. Did I already talk about the Jets?
No, I was going to hit the Jets. Sauce was
Oh
very.
yeah, I think I mentioned the Jets, but I
Yeah,
didn't go all the way in depth. But
yeah.
the Jets got
Sauce is very.
Yep,
Yeah. So
they got
talk.
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
They got Garrett Wilson. They got Jermaine Johnson, Brees Hall, and Jeremy Ruckert. So yeah, they have their lockdown number one corner. They got an edge rusher because Robert Saleh, he he's gonna coach up that defensive line.
Mhm.
That's his hallmark for sure. And you have him, Carl Lawson. You got Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson. You still got Quentin Williams in the middle. I mean, that front line is going to be doing some damage. If you have Sauce Gardner to clean it up, taking away that number one option. And then on the offensive end, you got Garrett Wilson to be that number one, threat for Zach Wilson. You got Elijah Moore that can go. He can. He's a good route runner. and also very fast. You can get him the ball in a variety of ways. Corey Davis, big fast guy. Um, and you bring Garrett Wilson in there. Garrett Wilson can kind of level it out. And Brees Hall. Brees Hall is he scored very well at the combine. Athletic freak. Um, he had a very good productive career at Iowa State. Um, he's going to split carries with Michael Carter, and so you have a lot of young talent in that New York Jets offense.
When you know, one of the big things that uh was a talk. Obviously Green Bay and everything going Aaron Rodgers. Losing Devontae Adams, not getting in receivers, but they finally got a receiver from
Christian
North.
Watson.
Yeah. So for people who don't know about Christian Watson, what is? I think there's a lot of value, right? And Green Bay, as they all talked about, well known. A lot of the value, a lot of their hits have been second round receivers, and so they do get somebody in the second round. For people who don't know Christian Watson, can you talk a little bit about the value of Christian Watson?
So I think the Packers did the right thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they got a lot of value here because Christian Watson is a guy. A lot of people were talking about possibly going in the late first. Um, he, I forgot how tall he is. He's a very tall,
6'4",
athletic
6'4",
receiver.
8 pounds. That's somebody with that's somebody.
Yeah, and he runs like low 4.3s too. So he's a big burner, and he's gonna be able to create that separation with that athleticism and his size. And Aaron Rodgers is gonna be able to put the ball on him. So I think they got him at a value position, and they were still able to get pieces to bolster that defense. You got Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker. I mean, Devontae Wyatt is going to be out there with um oh my god, Kenny. Oh my gosh, what is his name? Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Um, Probably one of my he's in my top five as far as the interior D lineman. You got him, Devontae Wyatt in there, causing havoc. You got Rashawn Gary on the outside. I mean, they're building something as well. Well, they're a playoff team, so I shouldn't say they're building something, but they got it.
Well, and as you start, we talked off the air a little bit. Is Baltimore went very Baltimore. I mean, every time I watch Baltimore, I'm like, they don't miss on too many people. They just, I mean, their receiver stuff you can debate a little bit on what's happened, but this is a very Baltimore draft. Let me give you a chance to sometimes we just got to go to the standards, and Baltimore is one of those standard bearers when it comes to doing this stuff. What impressed you about Baltimore's draft?
So the Ravens were very on brand. Like you have teams that have a certain identity, and Baltimore is certainly one of those teams. And they don't. They're like the Miami Heat of football, pretty much. Or you could say it's the other way around. The Heat are the Baltimore Ravens of basketball.
Yep.
When you talk about the Heat culture and Pat Riley, it's the same way with the Baltimore Ravens. They got Kyle Hamilton first, and then they traded Hollywood Brown to get Linderbaum. And Linderbaum's a guy. He's gonna play for 10 years. 10, 15 years. He's gonna start for you every single one of them. He's gonna be a Pro Bowler for pretty much almost all those years. Um, he's the best center in the draft. Also, you got David Ajabo in there. Um, the defensive coordinator from Michigan. He went back to the Ravens, so he already knows. They already have that report. He already knows what he's getting out of Ojabo there. And
Yeah.
then Travis Jones in the third round. I mean,
Pro day, right? But I think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft.
who
I mean,
Ojabo?
second round. I think he would have been higher without that injury, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, he definitely would have been.
but he's going. I mean, I'm my Steelers. I'm like, man, ooh, I'm not good about having him looking down the range on us. Yeah,
Yep.
and then they
Hmm.
got Travis Jones, UConn. Like we haven't heard UConn in a long time. What's the
No,
value of a Travis Jones?
Travis Jones is he is the if I don't get if I don't get Jordan Davis, he's the next best guy, kind of guy as far as the nose tackle goes. He's very heavy handed. I watched him at the Senior Bowl in the Senior Bowl practices. He's one of those guys when when he puts his hands on you, you gonna feel it. Like you can see it through the TV screen. It's almost like when you watching George Foreman fight or something like that. David Tua, you can just hear the shots. It's like that's what Travis Jones is like, man. I liked him a lot, and he's a very Ravens ish kind of pick. And if when you run that 3-4 scheme, you need that guy in the middle. So that's very on brand out of the Ravens. And another team. I know Houston was in the position where the cupboard is bare, and you got to just pick the best player available. And I think they did that. They did a really good job of that. They got Derek Stingley at 3. You able to get Kenyon Green on the interior lineman at 15. Jalen Petre, the hybrid. He's like a safety. He's listed as safety, but he plays in that nickel slot kind of area. But he's versatile. John Mechie, a receiver. He can run routes. He's a very physical blocker. And also you got Christian Harris, the missile in the third round. I mean, um, they're sticking to the script, the best available player, and I think they're going to be able to turn their roster around pretty quickly.
So
Sounds like a quarterback.
while I got you, I'm just gonna take a little bit of counseling because of my Steelers. You know, uh, I like the George Pickens pick. I mean, you got me on him. I tried because I was talking a little bit about. I remember, I don't know what it was, but
He was talking about Brock. Oh my goodness.
we had,
I'm drawing a blank on everybody's name right now.
yeah,
The tight end from Georgia.
yeah, yeah.
Number
Uh,
6, Brock Bowers. Yeah.
yeah,
Brock Bowers. You saying that he's the only. You said he's the only receiver they have. He said, and no, he's the only offensive weapon they have. That's what you were saying
yeah,
that they can throw the ball to. I'm like, okay, they got George Pickens, they got Johnson. What's dang? Not Jermaine Johnson. What's he just transferred to Alabama, number 7.
yeah,
They had him, and then they had Darnell Washington, and of course they have James Cook. And I was trying to tell you, I was like, their offense is way more than just Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is the best player, the best tight end in the country as a freshman, so he's going to get his touches for sure. But yeah, I was telling you about George Pickens. He tore his ACL in the spring last year, and he ended up coming back surprisingly right before the playoffs. So you already know he loves the game. That's a guy that's dedicated to the game. Really talented guy. 6'3", can
yeah,
jump out the gym. He's one of the best contested catch guys in the whole draft. He's a guy you're gonna like. And then in third round, you guys got Marvin Leal. Um, he's a in a 4-3 scheme, or like a nowadays everything's almost like a 4-2-5. But um, you would say he's in between um, a 3 tech and a defensive end. But hey, you in an odd front like the Steelers. Um, that five technique is the heavy meat is that happy medium. So I think that's a good scheme fit for you guys. And Kenny Pickett, a hometown guy.
yeah,
We'll see how that plays out, but I think he's accurate. He's gonna hopefully, he gonna take care of the ball, and they got he. I mean, he has some weapons. I mean, Deontay Johnson, he can get open. One of the better route runners in the league, especially one of the better young route runners in the league. Um, Chase Claypool and Pickens, you got these big athletic guys, big targets to get the ball to. And then you got Najee Harris coming out the backfield. I mean, um, as long as he holds up his part of the bargain, he'll be all right.
yeah. And I feel like they're going back. Like the Ravens and the Steelers used to have the same philosophy, and then we just diverged when we started doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I feel like we're going back to that. We're gonna see who the toughest. We're gonna load up on our side. You load up on your side, and we're gonna see who's gonna hit in the mouth, and we're not gonna get too cute with it, which I feel good about. And we got receivers who can go get it, right? You like you say, Pickens is 6'3". We got they gonna put their body, they can shade, or they can go. And I feel like that. I always felt like if the Steelers gonna make a run, they got to be much more balanced team. And I felt like they swayed too much. They couldn't run the football. They just didn't have the personality. It feels like these draft picks are moving them back to that more balanced. You don't have the folks dominating the locker room in a sense to pull it towards this, wide open offensive place where they can get back to the kind of DNA that makes them work. And, you know, I think he has this competitive spirit. Um, I've had a chance to watch. I haven't watched too many of his games the way I needed to, but the sense he has that I care kind of thing. And it makes it competitive in training camp. Trubisky gonna have to earn it. Somebody's gonna have to earn this job, right? But you got at least two
Mhm.
guys who can earn it, and your job is to not mess up, right? And make some plays, but not mess up. They both can move, so we got some mobility, which we needed. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, the division altogether did some decent drafting, and we got some really good GMs right now in the division. So it's going to be,
Yep.
and we got some good coaches. So it's hard to judge how it's going to go, and that's exciting.
And that
Um,
might be one of the toughest divisions in the sport
yes.
because
Yeah.
you have the Steelers, you have the Ravens,
Yep.
you have the Bengals,
Yep.
and you have the Browns, of course. Uh, the Bengals are another team. Like I said, the teams that are at the top, they're able to kind of fill in some spots.
Yeah.
And they got Dax Hill. The Bengals got Dax Hill.
Yeah, my man. What I
Yeah,
about?
Taylor
Yeah.
Britt. And their secondary was an issue with their team.
Yep.
And Dax Hill's going to slide in there, play with Simmons, and then you have Cam Taylor Britt. He's going to be in there competing with Eli Apple for that spot. And I think they addressed their offensive line in free agency as well. Um, I'm gonna pull up their depth chart. Their um,
Yep. They went defense to sure up.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, they went straight defense. Their offense is good,
Yep.
but they got Lyle Collins. That's the guy I was thinking about. In they got him from the Cowboys. Um, so um, they might go with an interior guy later on in the draft, but I don't know if they really have to because they've already addressed the offensive line. And yeah, they'll get another offensive line. They have four more picks, but um, they really attack the defense, like you said. And if they can get a few more stops, just a few more stops, they could be on the road to another Super Bowl appearance.
So as we turn the page, I think especially over this next couple of rounds is where people are going to find, especially this draft with so much talent. This is where you go. There's still some Pro Bowl players out there in these spaces. There's just some difference makers. As you start to look at people who are still on the board, who are some folks that we should be paying attention to here over the next few rounds that could make a difference on the team?
All right, so you got Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen's a big corner. He's 6'4". He showed out in the Senior Bowl as well. He's because as the receivers get bigger, the defensive players got to get bigger too because you got to have guys that can cover. The Christian Watsons of the world, like we mentioned earlier, or the guys already in the league like Chase Claypool, DK Metcalf. These big guys, Kyle Pitts. So you have to have guys that can cover those guys, and you got a couple of them here in the later rounds. You got, like I said, Tariq Woolen. You got Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State. Um, Other guys that are still left in this draft, Verone McKinley. He's a playmaking safety out of Oregon. You got Jamari Sawyer. He played offensive tackle last year, but he also played a little bit of guard at Georgia. He's going to be a guy that he could possibly slot in and start somewhere. Perion Winfrey is interesting to me because he has excellent pass rushing moves. He's a really good pass rusher, but he's a little light, and he can get moved in the running game. So it'll be interesting to see how he'll develop. If he can go to a team, they can possibly put some weight on him and get him in the weight, get him a little stronger, and he could possibly be a really good player at the next level. You still have Kobe Bryant, the Jim Thorpe award winner. He's still on the board. Um, Darian Beavers. Oh yeah, Justin Ross is still on the board. If you remember Justin Ross, him and Trevor Lawrence both came to Clemson at the same time, and they absolutely shredded the Alabama defense in the national championship game. Justin Ross was he was on his way to being top five receivers in his class, but um, fate had its own plan because he had a back injury. He had something wrong with his back where either I think it was either the back or the neck where they thought he might. It was possible he wouldn't play again, but he was able to play last year. And the offense struggled because they had some quarterback issues. But he's a guy that if he's healthy, um, he can have real impact. Isaiah Likely, tight end from Coastal Carolina, he he's pretty good. He was my tight end number two.
Yeah,
Um,
tight end side one, and I'm familiar with him, and I just think because of the issues with quarterback and just stuff that happening, Jake Ferguson is a really good player that nobody knows about. Former basketball player, I mean, in high school, good tight end from Wisconsin. This guy is just, he just never, when Cohen left to go to Notre Dame, and then they,
mhm.
just the whole quarterback situation and the stuff they're having, I don't think he was in the way they called plays. I think if he would have stayed this year coming up, I think we would say a lot more about him. But I think if somebody's scouting really good, this is a tight end that can play, but just had been in a situation where they didn't utilize his talents in the best way. And you know, I think if he were playing with them next season with their new offensive coordinator, he would be much more featured in here. But somebody who's scouting this kid that.
Yeah, they don't throw the ball a whole lot, especially tight ends.
But
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 yeah, you're
Wisconsin
right about that.
historically has put out a lot of great tight ends, like a lot of great tight ends, and so, but this guy can play. And so I'm gonna let folks know if you see him on somebody's roster, don't be surprised. Great athlete, can
Yep.
catch, know how to run routes. Um, but yeah, he's an interesting. I looked at it, I was like, okay, somebody gonna get a steal with him at some
And you
point.
got a lot of backs here too, like Isaiah
Yeah,
Spiller's still on the board,
yeah.
Damian Pierce, Zamir White, Hassan Haskins is on the board, Jerome Ford's on the board, Kyron Williams is still on the board. You still got Kennedy Brooks is on the board, Keontae Ingram. A lot of the running backs is on the board still. I already talked about Justin Ross.
And you got probably one of the best names in that group, Snoop Connor. Anytime your name is Snoop, you know you got something going. Snoop.
Yeah,
You,
I think we kind of have like second and third wave of tackles, and you got Big Daniel Falele from Minnesota, the 6'8", 380 tackle from Minnesota. You got Rasheed Walker out there, Max Mitchell, Barry Mumford, um, those guys. Okay, guard, you still got Darian Kennard in there, Justin Shaver from Georgia, Marcus Hayes. The centers are pretty much gone. Um, really, I mean, those are really the guys to look for. You still have Damone Clark is still on the board. Brandon Smith at linebacker. Then you got some. Then you still have Sam Howell. I know we talked about the
yep.
quarterback sliding down a little bit, but yeah, Sam Howell and Carson Strong are still on the board.
I mean, Sam Howell, they were talking about like he was going to be all
He was
everything.
supposed to be like the number one pick in the draft
So
going into the year.
when you look at Sam Howell, what's the issue for you for folks who weren't tracking what happened with him? What's the issue with Sam Howell?
Well, for me, it wasn't really like an issue. It's just like when I watched him, there was like nothing stuck out to me.
Mm,
Like I was never sold on Sam Howell because like going into it, everybody saying, next year, who the quarterbacks we're gonna look at next year? Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler. Like, and so you go on and watch Sam Howell, watch the game, watch another game from Sam Howell. It's like, so what do you guys see? Like, what is the special thing about him? So I don't really see anything that's just like a glaring weakness. I just don't see like what exactly is his strength. Well, I'm looking at this pre-draft analysis and saying he has the best deep ball accuracy of any quarterback in this draft. His touch, trajectory, and placement on deep shots and vertical seam shots are excellent. He moves well in the pocket and is an effective runner. Okay. So they're saying his mechanics needs refinement, and that's pretty
mm.
much why what is the downside on him. But hey,
So it's not even bad, but in this position, he doesn't jump off the screen.
he doesn't jump off the page to me. No, he doesn't.
Yep. So, well, hey man, we got a lot going on here in the draft. I think
Yep.
we'll end with a basketball framework. If you got a can't trust it team or a can't just a GM based on what you saw, there's a lot of positive, but is there somebody you say we still can't trust him? Is there a team that might be on your all can't trust it list? Is there a team that you looked at, you scratched their head on their selections?
I've said this the last couple years, and I'm still going to say it. Bill Belichick, they develop players well, but man, he has some head scratchers. And as for the 29th pick, he picked Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. But if you watch Cole Strange play, like he's a good player, he's a good guard, and I've heard scouts say that if he played at Alabama, that he would be a first round pick, and I guess he is a first round pick. But man, that's one I didn't expect. Second round, he picked Tyquan Thornton, um, the track guy from Baylor. Also, I thought there are some other, more regarded receivers out at the time where they picked them. But I feel like Bill Belichick is one of those guys where you can't. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I try to give him slack because he's one of those guys. I know you say he's out thinking the room, but at the same time, when he goes into this kind of stuff, he's looking at very specific things. And it's like, if I can get a guy that can do this, this, and this, I can build this part. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can coach him up to do the other things. It's just he has something special that I can't teach. And with Tyquan Thornton, you got a receiver that can run a 4.2, 4.28. You know what I'm saying? And can track a deep ball. Like I can coach the other stuff, but I think that was his taking point with really a lot of the picks that we kind of scratch our heads at.
Yeah, because it's hard to describe. His genius isn't necessarily it's in the draft, but it's in draft in specific positions, and sometimes it don't feel like it's in the draft with the skill positions. And then it's around the trade where he gets value back and gets rid of value before it depreciates. Like, so it's a weird mix of talent that it isn't and also in the defense that they were winning, so they're always picking later in the draft, right? So he would trade down and get picks, but some of those picks he had to hit on in the first round, and some of them just didn't seem like they panned out, right? But some of his other picks pan out because they're a little later rounds where he sees something somebody doesn't see. So it's a weird way he doesn't he's not like the Ravens that nail stuff, right? That you can see right away. And like you say, he looks at stuff like it's an acquired taste. Like he's like the cat you talk about who talks hip hop and names an underground group, and because you don't know it, they don't think you sophisticated enough at hip hop. Right? It's like, don't you see what I see? And I'm like, I'm listening to this music and it's garbage. It's like, but you see something and he figures it out. So there are times where when he made that pick, that's what I said. I said, he's like, it feel like he out thinking the room. He trying to make you feel and understand that there's just stuff y'all don't, there's levels to this. The problem he got right now is he's still dealing with the Brady effect. And the teams around him are getting better at doing stuff. And Brady gave him uh, a room for error that he could adjust to if things didn't work out. He don't quite have that right now. Now, not to say his quarterback can't make that jump, but he don't have a room like he had the room because Brady can make up for any type of mistakes just because he had a will to win. That's a piece, and not to say that, or he can get creative with defense, so collectively they could put that together and make it up, right? And I don't think he has that balance yet, where he had that room. And the secret was everybody else in the division was terrible at what they do in their job, so he had a set 5 or 6, 7 wins. Every once in a while, he always go down to Miami and lose, right? So he had a built-in number. Now that built-in number is shrinking. Buffalo good. Like you said, the Jets making moves, Miami making moves. So those are not gimmies. The one bad thing about Miami making them the change that coach was successful against his old boss, right? So, but those were built-in wins so that he could build his team, so that they could get ready by the time they get to November, because he had some wiggle room that you just didn't have in some of those other divisions that allowed for him to look like a genius, right? That's the piece that I'm trying to get my head around. I might be reading too much into it. So he might be falling to that can't trust it list.
Yeah, but the other can't trust the team didn't. They only had one pick, so they
Who,
couldn't.
who,
They couldn't mess it up too bad.
who's that?
The Raiders, but
Ah!
they only had one third rounder, so I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
but
I'm not gonna go there.
they look for somebody who can take it over the top. The Raiders, they still think my man Al Davis. They still gonna try to get somebody. They would get Adams, so that's the win. That's the win of their draft, right? Uh, but yeah, they went line, but we got to see it. We got to see how they pan out a little bit. But them Raiders, boy, I'm surprised they didn't get another receiver. That used to be that. They used to be the mo. So they clean up. They clean up that front office. They get some
No,
solid
I
play.
think they set. I think they set there.
They
They
they set
got
that, they set that
they got
for.
Devontae Adams. They got Darren Waller. They got Hunter Renfro. They'll be all
Well,
right.
brother, we gonna have a lot. We'll get on one mic, and we'll have a lot to talk about. In terms of the draft next week. Please, you know, hang out with us. Get over there to realsportsguys.com and check it out. You can also check us out on, we're on a number of platforms. So you can check this stuff out on YouTube here at Real Sports Guys. You can catch this podcast and other episodes there, or you go to realsportsguys.com and check us out. But until next time, this is Darnell and Devon on the block. Peace.